everyone, and welcome back to the Street Podcast. I'd like to start with a question, and I'm noticing I've been doing that quite a lot lately. The reason is, whatever I'm going to say in this podcast, whatever anybody's telling you, whether it's through a direct conversation, a phone call, a show, a podcast, a book, whatever it might be, what really matters is for you to really pause and make whatever it's being said to you, make that go through your own filter and really feel how that lands. This is usually what it is about. Like you might hear a lot of different things every day. Some might make sense, some might not, or maybe they will at some later stage. But in the moment, if you can open yourself up to it to really understand how does that make me feel? And sometimes it's not going to make you feel comfortable. It's actually going to be quite the opposite. But there's something to inquire there. Why? Why is that so? And it happens to me quite often. Like even sometimes when I watch something, I'm like, this person triggers me so much. Why is that so? Like, what is it in me that I haven't addressed yet? Or what is so, let's say, raw and present for me to feel triggered in that sense? There's always so many reasons and so many ways to look at that. This is ultimately what matters. How do you receive what is being shared with you? So today, the question is, have you ever been in a situation, maybe it happened many times, where things seem to happen to you or things seem to land on your lap quite miraculously without you even trying? They just happen, as if the universe was gifting you something, as if things were just magically turning up for you. And if we're flipping this, because there's usually one side and the other of the coin, have you ever been in a situation where you really want something so bad and you're doing the work? You seem to check everything on that list, you're hustling and you're really working hard, but somehow it's not working out. Quite the opposite, actually. Like the more you try, the more that desire, that situation that you so want to attract in your life seems to be slipping away from you further and further. Is that something that you can relate to? And you know what? Usually, most probably, we all have been in both situations. Now, you might know some people for whom everything seems to work, everything seems to happen so naturally. And you might know some other people for which, no matter how hard they try, they cannot make that happen. Most of the time, for most of us, we're somewhere in between. But the question is, how do we lean more towards the first situation, which is we attract things effortlessly? And why isn't that our default setting? So today, what I want to explore with you is the topic of magnetism, because this is the explanation. So, my friend, this is something about the human being that we need to know. We are just like magnets. Now, how does that apply in your practical life? How do we get more magnetism in our life? How do we attract things more effortlessly? So this is really what I want to approach with you. To start with, I want to share with you my own story and different situation. And also I want to say that I don't want to wait until I attract 10,000 clients in order for me to feel that I have authority to talk about that. It's not like that, because me, you, we have all, I'm pretty sure, experienced situation where things happen naturally and effortlessly. So for example, for me, as you might know, 10 years ago, I had a year back in France where I studied scientific aromatherapy and aromacology just out of passion. And when I moved to Thailand, maybe 8 years ago, it was a time of my life where I had left the corporate world. I wasn't looking for jobs specifically, but I remember at that time, very anchored in my mission, in what is important to me, in things that I want to let go of. And I was also a new mom, so that was my main priority and my main focus. And so I was walking around in Bangkok and I came across that store, that beautiful store that sold aromatherapy product, and it was more so like a beauty do-it-yourself kind of store. And so I pushed that door and I started to talk with the owner, and we were sharing knowledge, experience. I was telling her what I knew, what I studied, and I was just so passionate about that. I wasn't looking for anything. But by the end of that no agenda conversation, she offered me to run workshops in her store. And that was amazing. I loved doing that, and I did that for a while, and that was really, really great. But it was never a plan. It was never something that I thought I have to do this, and I'm going to go and talk to that person, and I'm going to make that happen. It wasn't like that. It just so happened naturally. Same type of example, but a lot more recent in my life as a coach. It was just like about a month or two ago when I met up with an old friend for a coffee. And after an hour long conversation, again with no agenda, just talking and sharing my view on things that she would share with me. By the end of the conversation, she asked me if I could become her coach. And that was something that I did not plan, did not expect, but I welcomed that opportunity with an open heart and open arms. And of course, I definitely am going to do this. And it really, really gives me this kind of feedback that things happen without us trying or forcing when we are very anchored in our mission, in what we love, in what we believe in. And it's really about being, not so about what we are doing. So, this is really the first point that I want to bring up to you when we approach the subject of magnetism. So now, just to make a pause here, I don't know how much you've heard of that. I don't know if this is a terminology that you use, that you are really open-minded and open-hearted about, or if you think this is like a very woo-woo thing. But there is some scientific background and way of looking at that, if this is, what you're looking for. And there's also your own experience. And that's, to me, this is even more important, like searching in your own life. When has that happened for you? If you can recall, what was your state of being in that moment? Were you hustling, grinding, trying to force something? Or were you just being in your truth, being in your authentic self, and reflecting that and projecting that in the outside world and towards the people that you were having a conversation with? This is really for you to consider, to recall. And you can even pause this episode and just take a moment to reflect and just soak again in that energy if you can. On the other side of the coin, some of you might know me from when I was a few years ago setting up something called My Healthy Cities. And that's a project and a business model that, to some extent, I still believe could really work. But at that time, it didn't. And this is the perfect example of, I would say, like a failed business, although it's like a big term and I don't really bring meaning to the word failure here, but just more to say that this is something that just didn't go my way at all. And it's a project I spent countless of hours on. I invested a lot of money in that. I was really hustling and grinding, like really, really, really. Like if you know me from that time, you would know. And when I think about that today with the distance and in hindsight, I'm like, I wasn't anchored in what I truly wanted it to be. Honestly, I wanted to force it. I wanted to prove to people that I knew what wellness was about. And I was kind of hiding behind someone who would put together a platform where people who offer wellness and people who are looking for wellness would meet. Just to share with you what actually happened is at that time, I wasn't a coach yet. And I believe deep down I wanted to be, but I was not daring. I thought, hey, there's so many coaches out there. What am I going to add to the picture? Does the world need one more? And by thinking that way, even if it was at a subconscious level, I actually rejected my true calling. I was hiding behind, no, I'm not going to be a coach. I don't think I can do it. Or I don't think the world needs it, or whatever bullshit I believe at that time. I'm going to be the one who puts everybody in contact. But deep down, this is not what I wanted. What I really wanted is to make an impact through my input, through my coaching. And this is what I'm doing now. But back then, I was very kind of misaligned, and I was giving myself a purpose out of fear of my true purpose. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but this is my analysis. Again, this is just my own example. But I remember the feeling every day, showing up, contacting people, working on my platform, and I met amazing people. I don't have any regret at this stage, but I'm like, oh, if I knew better, I would have done things so differently. I could really feel that resistance, like really the cells in my body were pulling me back, and I had this behavior on and off that would tell me, Joelle, you're not in alignment. But I didn't know at that time, what is it that's missing? What am I doing wrong? So I just want as well for you to recall a moment when you felt that. It might be in a previous relationship. It might have been in a job where you felt that, oh, this is not my path. This is not for me. But you pushed yourself for whatever reason because you needed to. And again, there's no regrets to be had. The big picture is having this data for you to understand that this might have had to do with alignment and further down the line, magnetism. What are you attracting? What are you repelling? What are you open to? What are you close to? So this leads me to the next part of the podcast where I really want you to, again, if you haven't done that earlier, pause, like mark this pause and recall this kind of two situations that are opposite. A moment when you attracted effortlessly, a moment when you repel, even though you were trying so hard. Either you want to write things down or just bring that memory and sit with that and notice what happens, like notice how that makes you feel. Now, to go back to that question of why isn't that our default setting to be there, to be in our flow, to be in our truth, to be attracting things that we actually want? One reason is because we are wired that way, the way we've been raised, the way we've been educated, and even the belief that hard work is more important, that hard work is the way to be successful, that grinding, that proving yourself, working hard is how you build success, that effort, constant effort, and being really focused, having grit, having resilience is what matters the most. Now, I want to tell you this. I do believe that effort and meritocracy are definitely important, but I also do believe that if we only see this, we're missing a big part of our humanity. Magnetism is also something very strong, stronger, or at least as strong as your willpower, your strength, your ability to grind, your ability to hustle, and your hard work. These two things have to coexist. Now, if you ask my personal opinion, I would say that magnetism and cultivating that is probably more important, but you don't have to believe that way. You just have to experience it and see how true it is for yourself in your own life. Now, going back to the scientific explanation of the two poles. So as you know, if you take two magnets that are alike, right? The like poles, they're gonna, no matter what you do, they're gonna keep repelling each other. And now if you take two magnets that have opposite poles, they're just going to attract and stick to each other, right? And sometimes even hard to pull them apart because their attraction is so strong. Now, how does that apply in your life? So the interesting and wild part is that you are a magnet. Every cell in your body have an electric charge, which is going to make you create your own magnetic field. And this is something that you might have heard in different wording, but the bottom line is that you are energy. You are creating a magnetic field, and everybody around you as well is. Now, the question is, are you attracting or are you repelling? Now, to go a little bit further, at your body and cellular level, even the different parts of your body create a slightly different charge. And it is said that the electromagnetic field created around and by your heart is a lot stronger than the one created by your mind. So this is just for you to consider When we say that, oh, the mind prevails over what your heart wants, this is where I'd like to ask you, do you really think that's to be true? So you are in a constant relationship, obviously with your own magnetic field, but with the one of others as well, and with everybody around you. And what it does is, with this electromagnetic field that you are emitting, whether you realize it or not, you are constantly sending a message, which is either come here or go away, attracting or repelling. And magnetism is your feminine ability to attract what you truly desire. At this point, I might have lost some of you, and that's okay. But if what I'm saying right now makes sense to you, stick around because there's more. What is important about this magnetism is that it's not something that you can think your way through. It's something that you feel. How do you get to feel that? It might take practice. But what I love about it is that everybody has the capability, like the innate capability to feel it. And it's not something that you need to practice a lot in order to feel it. When you hear something, when you hear a news, whether it's good or bad news, is it just your mind processing it, or are you feeling something at a physical level? I'm pretty sure you can feel it at a physical level. Or if there's something stressing you out, is it just in your head, or do you feel this knot in your stomach? Do you have any sensation in your body? All of us have. It's just that some of us have been used to really numb that part, and for whatever reason might have been, focus on what's happening in your head because this prevails. So now going back to the feeling experience of magnetism, because it's not linear, because it's not something coming from your mind, it's not something that's logical, some of us are a bit close to it. And this is where the tricky part is, or the magical part is, because there are actually 4 main pillars for you to be more in your magnetism. Is that something that you're interested in? If so, this is a topic that I'm definitely diving into more in details in my coaching programs, in my one-on-one sessions with my clients. But of course, I'm going to share some of that with you here today. The first one is that you need to believe in what you want to attract, as in you need to know that this is what you want. The second component is that you need to be open and receptive to it, because your mind might tell you this is what I want, but if the rest of your being is completely close to it, and this you might feel it when you think about this thing that you think that you want, how does your body react? What happens in your body? Do you feel that you open, you're almost leaning towards it, or do you feel a contraction? Do you feel that you're not open to it, actually? The third thing is that you need to trust that you are deserving of it. You need to believe that you can handle it, that you can manage it, and this is what's for you to attract. You have to trust yourself that you are equipped for it. Yeah, tell me that makes sense. And the fourth one would be about already being able to feel the pleasure, the pleasurable sensation that's going to come with attracting that thing that you want. Now, a lot of you might be aware and might even practice manifestation and manifesting. So it's a bit similar in the sense that when people do manifest, there's this concept that manifesting is about behaving as if it had happened, because they tell you that the universe doesn't respond to what you think. It just gives you what you basically already kind of have and already channeling and attracting towards you. So it's a bit similar in that sense, is acting and living as if you were already surrounded by that, meaning you actually surrender to it. So it's actually funny that I use that word. You're surrendering into the feeling that you want to attract together with that desire, that situation, that person, right? So these are the 4 pillars and the 4 key ingredients to magnetism. Now, magnetism is really more so how you live and you being more than you doing. a side effect of you like living your life, being in your flow, inhabiting yourself and just living as your true self is how you draw in what is needed. And again, I don't need to have attracted thousands of clients. You don't need to have attracted repeatedly day after day exactly what you wanted. You just need to have experienced that once to know that it exists, because it has existed in your life. And make this choice and open yourself to wanting more of that, because this is also what happens for a lot of people. Even though you know it can happen, there's usually one of the four factors missing. Either you feel that you're not deserving and you're not trusting yourself to be equipped and calibrated for what you actually want, or it could be that the pleasure is so absent because you don't connect with that and you haven't recalled that moment. So what I want to say is it's so accessible to any of us right now. The question is, how much are you willing to position yourself, in that situation? How open are you to receiving it? How trusting are you towards yourself that you can actually attract what you want, what you deserve? And can you actually practice that? Can you actually take a few minutes every day or every now and then in your day to just sit, visualize that pleasurable sensation of how it is when life is beautiful, how it is when you enjoy everything in your life, how is it when there's no more hustle needed, how is it when you trust yourself that you are deserving? Can you call in that feeling and just sit with that without the need to snap out of it, without the need of thinking, no, it's too good to be true? Can you do this? So now, a small practical tip or exercise I'd like for you to practice this week is to choose one small desire. It doesn't have to be a huge thing, but it could be like a conversation with your partner that you want to have, or like a small fun project that you're interested in. Before you go into the doing mode, as in putting the practical steps, I'd like you to check in with those four ingredients. So first of all, find the belief and the conviction that it's possible. Open yourself really physically to it. It could be like in clenching your jaw and really opening your arms, your legs, your whole body towards it. Take a breath and choose to trust yourself in that process. And most importantly, feel the pleasure that would come when that happens. And just sit with that for 60 seconds, not more than that. And tell me what happens. Tell me what you feel. You can write this down. And, practice is what is going to make something tangible to you, is what's going to make something becomes a plan and it becomes a project that I work towards. Now, if this is somehow landing for you and you realize that, okay, my default setting is that I repel more than I attract, and you really want to lean more towards the I believe that I can and I deserve and I trust and I want to, but it still feels very overwhelming to take that first step, I have some 30 minutes free discovery call where you can hop on, book me on the link that I'm going to provide in the description of this episode, so you can tell me either what it is that you want to attract the most and we'll take it from there, or what do you think is stopping you from being in that state of flow. Either way, I'm here to guide you. It would be my honor and my pleasure. I am Joelle. I'm your feminine embodiment coach. What I love to coach women on is confidence from all angles, self-confidence, and really the true conviction that you are amazing. I know that you are. I'm here to remind you of that, and I'm here to give you practical tips and tools to live as such, but before, for you to see how true that is. And besides confidence, I believe that a good coach can coach on any topic, but then I decide to really focus myself on connecting you with your essence, with what is really there below all the layers of what has been conditioning you, maybe from since your childhood, to connect with what is true to you, what's your true self with no bullshit, just you, your pure, original, authentic self. So I hope that you will take this time just to connect with your beautiful innate magnetism and let me know how that lands. Let me know what you have felt. My name is Joelle Smagnoto. You can find me on Instagram at joelle.smagnoto, or my website is thesensescompany.com. I'll talk to you very, very soon again in the next episode of the Street Podcast. All right, be well, everyone. Bye.